friends, my name is Marla Love. I am with Art First, Arte Primero. I am elated to paint with you today. So in your DIY watercolor Frida Kahlo kit, you're going to receive watercolor paper, a watercolor palette, paint brushes, and you will need a paper towel. So in starting to draw Frida, you want to be mindful of where you start. So we're going to start with the círculo, with the circle. Now, if you're comfortable drawing a circle, go ahead and draw a circle. If you're not comfortable, find something around the house where you can draw, you can use the shape of a circle. So in this case, I'm going to use just the masking tape, so for visual purposes. Now, if you're just going to use your freehand, I use my fist to place the subject. In this case, it's Frida's face. So you want to make sure that the face is not so low that you have her with no neck, and not so high that you don't have any space for her beautiful flowers. So you want to bring her about 3/4 of the way down, and then you're going to draw a simple circle. Okay. Now, if you do it freehand, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's what I always tell my students, because nothing is ever perfect when you draw. So you're going to have a circle, and then you want to give her a bit of a bone structure. So it's just a little bit of a chin, okay? So you're just going to bring from one side over, and then from one side over, and we'll erase later. Now for her cuello, for her neck, and just so you know, in Arte Primero, we always go back and forth. We're a bilingual art studio, so we teach in English and Spanish. So we're going to come in here, create that line, come in here. You don't want to give her too thick of a neck. And then we're going to slope it down. And then we're going to slope it down. If you need to pause the video and replay it, that's okay. What I'm going to do next is clean up. Feel free to always pause the video when you need, go back. So basically what we did is a círculo, a little V for her chin, 2 lines for her neck, and then we sloped it down. So now that we've cleaned it up a bit, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to place the eyes, ojos. So how we do this is we're going to create kind of like a smiley line across the middle of the head. And that's going to create the placement of the eyes. The next line is going to be right down the middle, and that's just for symmetry of the lips. See how that's a little crooked? It's off the middle of the chin. So you really want to create that symmetry, because if you don't, your face is going to look a little bit crooked, which is fine if you want to make it a little bit crooked. It's not a big deal. So there, basically, we've created a cross. And then her ojos, because she's kind of has that closed eye look, is going to be one ojo there and one ojo there. Now, what I teach my kids in Arte Primero and my students is that in the size of this eye and the size of this eye are going to be approximately the same. But Leonardo da Vinci created the symmetry of the face and said that this eye is exactly the same. The space in between both eyes is the size of the eye. So if you have this eye here and this eye here, you have a third eye in the middle. And that's about the spacing that you want to create in the middle. Okay. The next thing we're going to do, in this case, the original painting does not have a nose. It's up to you if you want to create a nose. I'm not going to create one. But the way that we create lips in Arte Primero, we're going to come about this far down, and you're going to create a V. That's why it's important to have this cross here. You're going to create a V, and what I usually tell my Arte Primero kids is we have a valley, and then we have a mountain, and then in the mountain, it's important to have this little lip that goes up, because that will give Frida a smile. If not, she'll look really somber. And then in the valley, there's a boat, and the boat is in a river. These are just a breakdown of a step that I take to teach young children how to paint lips and how to remember. So again, it's the valley, the mountain. Remember that little lip that goes up? And then we have the boat, and then we have the river. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We can clean it up later. We could also start to erase these middle lines, just like that. And we'll keep cleaning up as we go. So the next step is we're going to create the unibrow, the famous unibrow. Now, for symmetry and for placement, the end of your eyebrow is always at the end of your eye, okay? So we're going to, again, create this V in the middle. And I kind of erased this line a little bit too soon, but let's do that again. So we're going to create this V for Frida to place the unibrow. And then we're going to arch it over to the end of her eye. So you're going to have this invisible line here. You don't want to go too far out because then the eyebrow will be too big. So over here, the same thing. And notice that I don't just do one line. I just kind of bring it softly. And again, and it's just going to go to the end of this eye here, okay? I'm going to erase those lines. If you have an extra eraser at home, you can use it. I like it so that I don't have to keep turning my pencil over. Just like this. Now, the end of the eyebrow is thin, and then it goes thicker. It goes thin, and it goes thicker, and then it meets right in the middle with the other eyebrow. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's a little uneven, but that's okay. I like it that way. Okay, now for the eyelashes in this case, we're just gonna do, they have a little bit of curve to them. So the eyelashes on the outside curve out, and then the eyelashes on the inside of the eye curve in. There's gonna be one that's gonna be straight, but there's only one. So again, the outside eyelashes curve out, the inside eyelashes curve in. There's only going to be one that's going to be straight. And that's going to give you a really nice flow to your eyelashes. These are out. And there's this one in the middle that's a rebel eyelash. Okay? And that's your placement of your eyelashes. Okay, so the next step that we're going to take is placement of the hairline. If you look in a mirror, your eyes, a parallel line starts the hairline. Again, your eyes, a parallel line will start the hairline. So that means if we were to draw a line between the end of your eyelash to your end of your head, that is where your hair for Frida will begin. Just like this. Now I know a lot of you are going to go to the mirror and say, oh, that's right. My hair does start there. So you're just going to bring that up. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It could be any shape. You can add a little bit more volume on one edge. Just like that. That's for the hair. Now, the next step is to place your flowers. Right now, our first step is to place 3 large flowers. And the best place is the first flower is to draw one on this side of this line, one on this side. Doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, they're flowers, it's just a circle. And then one on the top. And then that way, everything else that comes will be balanced because you have 2 flowers here, one there. So it's going to balance the chin. It'll mimic the chin. So in placing art, you want to make sure that everything flows. And because you have this chin as a V, it's mirroring the flowers and it'll be more pleasing to the eye. So now that we have those 3 flowers, the rest of your flowers, you can do carnations, or cempasúchil. You can make, in the original drawing, we have like a little tulip. A tulip is just a little flower like that. You can add leaves. There's really no wrong way to draw here. In my style, my personal style, I love the curlies right there. That you'll see that in a lot of my work. I just add curlies. I've just always called them curlies since I was a kid. So it's up to you if, make this your own. This is where you are free to do whatever you want. This is a good time to pause the video and to decide where your flowers are going to be. I'm just going to add a little bit. This is just for placement. So I'm adding just a few more círculos, so a few more circles. Just like that. So the flowers will tell you where they want to go, just to create a balanced look, okay? So friends, I feel that I have enough circles. Again, placing one bigger circle here, one bigger circle there, a circle on the top, and then adding, a tulip, cempasúchil, a couple of small flowers. It's whatever you want to add. I'm going to now take a little bit of time to add those curlies. Frida was a magical realism artist. What does that mean? That she was whimsical. And so this painting represents that whimsy, that magical side of her. And so that's why I chose to draw Frida during Day of the Dead, because Day of the Dead in and of itself is a whimsical holiday, right? We're celebrating life through skeletons. So that's why I wanted to incorporate Frida in this celebration. With your flowers, you can decide how you want to do them. Like I said, if you wanted to do cempasúchil, you basically just do one squiggly circle inside another squiggly circle, and then you have your center, okay? And I'll show you how to paint that later. So again, to balance the painting, I'm gonna do a cempasúchil here, and then a cempasúchil here. For the middle ones, we're gonna do somewhat of a rose, and it's gonna be just like kind of a geometric rose. And I'm using the same circle. Again, there's no right or wrong here. It's just going to be we're gonna basically do 3 geometric shapes. Or 4, whatever happens. There's no right or wrong. So again, we're gonna do kind of like a half moon. There's no right or wrong in the shapes. We want to clean up. You can clean up with the end of your eraser, the end of your pencil. You could still see the lines, but we're just lightly going over. So we want to clean up all that extra lead, especially in these darker spots, because what happens is that your color becomes muddy, especially when you're using like light colors like pink or yellow. And we definitely don't want to pick up that lead, but you don't want to erase it to where you can't see what you did. So this is all I'm doing, is just cleaning this up. See how well that cleans up just from that little eraser. If you have a big eraser at home, or if you end up wanting to use one at home, purchase one, you can do that. I actually like this smaller one better. One thing we did forget is her hairline. So this is where the circle was. So all we're gonna do, and this is why we kept this line, we're gonna bring her hair over like this and over like this. And then we're gonna erase this circle line. So it does look like her hairline is more, goes with her head. We're gonna add the earrings. These could be any design you want. In this case, we're just doing a simple earring, círculo, círculo, and a teardrop. Again, if you want it to add, extra little circles on the side, makes them look more of that traditional Veracruz style or Tehuana style. Frida loved her Tehuana, and she's actually has a few paintings like that. So it's up to you how you want to do them, but this is definitely a painting for you to be creative with your flores, your flowers, and your earrings. So 1 círculo, 2 círculos, and a teardrop, an óvalo. I'm going to add a few circles here just to make it a little bit different. And again, this is just to give you a base for when we do the painting, the watercolor part. Mis amores, I hope you have enjoyed drawing as much as I have, our Frida Kahlo. Now we're going to paint her. So we are going to adjust to start that watercolor. I have my watercolor palette, Frida in drawing. I've cleaned her up really good. When you erase, make sure you take all the little crumbles away, and there's no dark spots except for the eyebrows and the eyelashes, which they're going to be dark anyway, so that's okay. And remember to get a paper towel, your paintbrushes are ready, and a cup of water for your watercolor. So we can start anywhere, but I think I'm going to start with the background. So for that, you need the larger paintbrush, and you're going to dip the paintbrush in the water. And the first dip is going to break the bristles because they're probably stiff because it's a brand new paintbrush that you've received. And in this case, we are going to do a yellow. So you get water, agua, tap tap. You get your pintura, your paint. You want to get paint on both sides of the brush. And then what you're going to do is kind of put it everywhere. Again, there's not a right or wrong way to do this. You put a little bit of water, and then you soften your edges. You soften your edges. I really don't go back over the watercolor. I'm just softening the edges. And I'm not putting it everywhere because I'm going to come back with another color. You want to get it behind the flowers, up to the hairline. If you go over a little bit, don't worry about it. Again, this is your creation, and it doesn't really matter where you get it. Here, you see this yellow right here, so I'm just softening the edges, going around the yellow because I want to keep that bright yellow. I don't want to lose it. So do you see the different values? You have values meaning the depth of color. So you have darker yellow versus lighter yellow, and that's exactly what we want because that will create depth in your painting. So agua, pintura, and just go in there and let your paintbrush flow. Let wherever you want to go. Don't think about it. Just create your background. But you'll see it when you're painting. There's dark to light. So I'm going to just go back a little bit and just put in a little bit darker yellow because I like this yellow. It's really beautiful. And I'm getting just water now, and I'm softening the edges. Softening the edges means that it's not such a stark contrast from light to dark. So I'm just filling all this background. And then what I'm going to do is a very, very light, I'm going to do a light pink. I feel like pink today. And again, it could be any color you want. It doesn't have to be the colors I'm choosing. I just think that yellow makes other colors pop, and pink is a complementary color to yellow. And again, I'm doing this pink in the white parts of the watercolor. So I'm leaving the yellow alone, and I'm just putting in the light color. And it's just a nice little wash. Watercolor is really beautiful because it dances with two elements, which is the water and the paint. You want to make sure you get into the hairline. Look how pretty that's turning out. That's it. It's a simple background for your Frida. Again, I would go with 2 colors, not too many, because you're going to have all this color up here in the flowers. So that's your background. So you can choose to allow your background to dry. It's not necessary, but you don't want it too wet either. So the other thing is you want to choose complementary colors and colors that are not going to be so dark in the flowers, because remember, your hair is going to be darker. So you want a balance of dark and light for your flowers. So in this case, I'm going to go with purple to start. I'm going to go with this lighter purple that's more on the pinky side. And the trick to watercolor is this: outline and then water. And I'll show you what I mean. So in this flower, remember we did these flowers in the middle? So I'm going to outline the shape that we did in pencil. So that's outlined, right? Watch. Water, tap, tap. You don't want too much water. So I just tapped it on the paper towel. And then you're just going to blend that in, okay? See how you still have that depth? We'll go back and do the edges a little bit more later. So again, we're outlining. Agua, tap, tap. Take that tip off of water on your paintbrush and then just do circles. If you were not to take off that tip of water, then your painting is going to become really wet. So again, we'll do it again. I'm going to do this many times. So we're going to go around the flower shape. I'm going to take off the paint, tap the edge so it's not a very, very wet paintbrush, and now I'm going to blend in that color. Okay, so you see that depth that's created? The contrast of dark purple and light purple will 3D your painting so it doesn't look flat. So now I'm going to go back in and outline the purple a little bit more right here. Just outlining this purple. And sometimes you need to let it dry a little bit in order to do that. So now I'm going to do a complementary color with maybe this dark rose color. And again, I'm going to go around the edge, just like this, around the edge, just like this, around the edge, just like this. Then what do? Agua, tap, tap, take away the extra water, and then I'm just blending in. Again, watercolor is a dance between the paint and the water. That's why it's watercolor. Right there, beautiful. You don't need a lot of paint. This palette will last you 100 paintings, literally. Purple, pink, what else do you think? I know many of you are saying your color. I'm gonna go with, take your time in choosing. There's no rush. That's the beauty of all this. I think I'm gonna go with a darker purple. So again, you outline. Outline your color. Doesn't have to be perfect. Agua, tap, tap. Take off that extra water, and we're just gonna go back in now and fill in the white space. There's no such thing as messing up. You can always go back and add more color, or later I'll show you how to erase watercolor, which is really interesting. Okay, since this is more like Day of the Dead, I'm gonna add cempasúchil. So I'm gonna take this dark orange. So cempasúchil in Nahuatl is the Aztec language, means that flower of 1,000 petals. Flower of 1,000 petals. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm creating this outline, this squiggly outline. I'm gonna add a little bit of a center here. And if you notice, I didn't follow exactly my pencil lines. And guess what? That's okay. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit because I wanted to keep that form a little bit more. So I'm gonna add another cempasúchil here. And it's just a squiggly line within a squiggly line within a squiggly line. And then I'm gonna add another cempasúchil over here. I think 3 is good. So I'm agua, tap tap, and watch what I'm doing. I'm just bringing in a little bit of water. Not even just, I'm gonna leave some white spots even. I'm not over touching it, see? I'm leaving some white spots, just a little bit of a dab, because I really want to create that 1,000 petal look. Just like that. Don't overpaint. The last thing I want, what I tell my students, we don't paint like this. We don't paint like watercolor's a marker. Okay, and then we have a few flowers over here. I'm gonna add a little bit of this darker red to give it some contrast since we've been using light colors. What I'm gonna do is create kind of like a carnation feel. And it's kind of like a background. Oh, I really like that. It's beautiful. You know, sometimes it's not planned. Like I didn't plan to add this color or this texture, but it just adds. This kind of actually reminds me of, they call it pie de tigre, which is a flower that's used in Michoacán for Dia de los Muertos, and it's a velvety flower. I don't know what the name of it is in English. If I find out, I will post it. That adds a nice little background, which I like. And when we add the green, oof, it's gonna look really nice. So just to add, again, the water, clean brush, just a little bit. I'm not gonna overdo it because I still like that white in there. But I really like that background. It's really beautiful. I might go back in and add a little bit more. We'll see what happens. Okay, let's add some green. So this is really important. Green is never green. In Arte Primero, what I teach my kids is that a green leaf has at least three greens. And it could be a dark green, a light green, and even a yellow. So I'll show you what I mean. So again, we outline. I like to outline watercolor. I think it's the easiest way to create depth. So we outline the green. This is going to be a leaf. Do you see what happened here? That the green went into the orange? So this is how you erase. You just pick it up. See how easy that is? You just pick it up. Don't smear it. All I did was put it on and tap it, and it'll absorb. It'll absorb. Sometimes it's a good idea to let each phase dry a little bit. So let your flowers dry before you do the green leaf. So one of the things that I'd like for you to understand is that you don't have to stick to the pencil drawing. So I outline the green in dark green. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to take just a little bit of white, a little bit of light green, and then I'm going to fill it in here. I'm going to fill it in, okay? fill it in, especially with these larger ones. I have a little bit more space to work with. They don't have to all be the same dark green, light green. And then you'll see what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna actually go back in with a little bit of this yellow of the background and just gonna tap it in there. And that's just gonna tie in a little bit more the background. So I'm just gonna now, just with a little bit of water, go back in and just kind of soften those edges of the leaf. Just like that. So it just creates a little bit more of an effect of a 3D leaf, and it ties in that nice yellow for the background, okay? And especially if you put it up on a wall, that depth is gonna create, it's gonna be more visual when you put it up. You could go back in, like this one needs a little bit more darker green, so we can add just a little bit of green to the edges. Add a little water, again, to soften those edges. We'll put a dot of yellow, just like that. A little bit of yellow, just like that. And if you see, every single leaf looks different, and that's what you want. You want to create that variety. There is a missing flower right here, and I don't like to be all about pattern, so I'm going to actually add this kind of periwinkle blue, but I'm going to add, I think, another color in between. So let's see. This originally was a tulip. Maybe I'll keep it a tulip. Let's see what the paintbrush, oh no, the paintbrush wants a carnation. Sometimes you just gotta let the paintbrush do what it's gonna do. And to add a little bit of balance, I'm gonna add a little one here. It kind of looks like a hydrangea. This is the colors of hydrangeas. I didn't know what that color, what that flower was until I looked it up. So they're so beautiful. But see, that blue just really, just looks beautiful. And then in between, I think all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let that dry a little bit because I don't wanna lose that periwinkle blue. So you could leave these spots white, it's up to you. I'm gonna add the little wispies first to see what happens. So I really like this green, so I'm gonna bring it right here, and I'm gonna add a little bit of water because I want a light. This is very concentrated. So all of these are mixing palettes. So you can always add, like if you wanted to add this color and make it a little bit more yellow, you can do that. This is your mixing area. This is your mixing area, okay? So now we have like a lighter green and a lime green. So I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna do these little wispies. I just call them wispies. I don't know what they're called. There's a word for them, but this is the first layer of color. I'm gonna go back in and add a little bit more color, different colors. But just like that, we're just kind of putting them all over. So I'm just gonna go back into the leaves, to the flowers, and adding that a little bit of extra green, so it makes the flower pop a little bit more. But again, always remember to soften your edges as you go. I let it dry just a minute, and see how that green pops even more compared to that yellow. So I already did it to this pink here. I'm gonna do a little bit more, but let me show you here. I just go back in, and even if you wanted to add like this red color here, this darker color, look, you just tap it in, even if it's just for one little area. Just tap, 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 tap it, tap in that color. And it just adds so much to your painting. This purple I haven't touched at all, but look what happens when I go back in and I just touch it up with a little bit of color. Now be careful, because we just added that green. That green is still wet, and it will pick up. The green the two colors will merge if they're wet. So just be careful of that, and just blot it if that happens. It's not a big deal. Once it's dry, it's a little bit harder to pick up, but you can always wet it, and then you can pick it up. Okay, so that's that. As we're painting, we want to make sure that when we transition from one dark color to a light color, that we clean our water. It's really important. So we have clean water, and now we're going to work on Frida's skin. And we have this light peach here, and we're going to blend the color. So we're going to add peach with paint and water here. And then we're going to blend in this brown color into the peach. It's going to give her this really nice color. And we could always go back in between these two colors. Okay, so again, it's the outline. We outline her skin, her chin. It's gonna blend into the yellow, and that's what you want, and that's okay. Agua, tap tap, círculos. So we're just blending all that color in. We don't want it to be like a marker where it's all the same color, right? I'm gonna pick up some of this brown color. I'm gonna pick up some of this peach color, and you're just gonna get, and then with water, you're just gonna blend in those edges. Now you don't want it to be blotchy either. Clean up your edge. But she has this nice skin color, and that's it. Don't overpaint, because you want to have these different hues of skin, because her skin is not just one color, especially in the painting. Now for your face, go lighter on your face. Always go lighter. I would even add a little bit of white on another palette with some of this color. So we just picked up the color we had here and added a little bit of white, and now we're going to do her face. The tone of the face is always a little bit lighter than her neck, and that's because of shadow. The neck creates a shadow over the chin creates a shadow over the neck, sorry. You always outline your face, agua, tap tap, and then you bring in the color. Go around the lips. You can go over the eyelashes, just because it's hard to get in there. Other than that, for your eyebrows, I would add a little bit of this brown, and I would just tap it in. Just tap it in, just to create that depth of the eyebrow. Of the eyelid, the eyelid. And I'm just laying down the color and doing little circles with your tip. One thing I didn't say, Amores, I'm sorry. I transitioned from the small paintbrush to the thinnest paintbrush to the medium paintbrush. You really only need 3 paintbrushes. So this was for the background, this one's for detail, and the medium one is for the skin. So see, you can see here her eyelids, I'm sorry, have that depth, and you just want to create that line over her eyelid with a little bit of water to blend that in. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit of rose to her cheeks. So you have this super bright pink, you want to be careful. Put it over here, like I'm barely adding any color. Take away the paint, and then add some of this peach, some of this brown, mix it in. And see, it's still for me really dark, so I'm gonna bring it over here, add some water, because you want just a really light wash, and watch. You're just gonna add a little bit. Just it'll dry darker. So this is where the painting could go very wrong. What we want to do is create her hair, her unibrow, and her eyelids. Now, in Arte Primero, we never use black. We create a dark color. If it's brown, if it's black, hues, but we create the color. I learned that very early on from my high school teacher, Mrs. Cunningham, wherever she is, hello. So what we do, we take dark purple. Remember, we have our mixing palette. We take dark purple like we have here. Okay, you want enough of it, about that much, okay? And then, believe it or not, we're gonna take this navy blue and we're gonna add it to the purple. And then, so it's less navy blue, it's more purple. And then watch, we're taking just a smidgen of black, putting it here. Black is a very strong color and it could dominate and ruin a painting. I'm just, see how much I added? Just very little. So you still have all these colors in your paint right now. And what do? We outline. See how dark that is already? So be very, very careful. Don't be scared, just be careful. Remember I told you to identify your hairline? This is why, because it makes it easier. Agua, tap tap, what do? Círculos. Remember, it's always easier to go darker than it is to go lighter. If you added too much black, you can always blot, okay? Always blot. So now I'm gonna go back in with a little bit of blue, a little bit of purple, and I'm going to, so see, that's way too purple. So I'm gonna clean my paintbrush and then go back in. So just be very careful, bring that in here. You can always go back to your colors and make them pop. But see, look at this happy little accident. I added too much purple, but now I kind of like it. So let your painting do what it's gonna do. So now I'm recreating that happy little accident because I really like it. You can always go back and make this darker, but for right now, we're just adding the illusion of the hair color. And then soften your edges. We outline and soften your edges. If you've picked up anything from this video, and I hope you continue more watercolor, is outline and soften your edges. Outline and soften your edges. Since the area is wet, I can go back in with color and it's gonna really blend in nicely. I can take a little bit of straight black, just kind of dot it in there, agua, tap tap, and then just bring it in. Let those colors dance. It's up to you how purple, how blue, how black you make it. I would suggest you let it dry because the colors dry differently. This is very much like a Van Gogh Starry Night. sky. And it adds to the whimsicalness of Frida, I feel. Okay, same color for the eyebrows. Get that mix of black and blue and purple. Now your edge needs to be really pointy for this, and you need to have a steady hand. You're going to outline the color. If you don't have a steady hand, it's okay. I would suggest you do this part with colored pencil, and that's okay. You can do. I would prefer that you do it with colored pencil because you have more control of your edges. So see how I didn't fill in that inside? So I'm going to take a little bit of water, and remember, our water, we just tap it on the paper towel, and then I'm just going to fill this in. Now I can always make that darker. I'm going to let it dry a little bit, see what it does. Oh my gosh, that came out with a little heart right there. Frida's full of love. See, it's a happy little accident. And I'm just going to leave that heart right there because that's what it was meant to be. So if you feel again that you don't have a steady hand, your eyebrows and your eyelashes, you can do with colored pencil. With colored pencil, you can do like a navy blue. You can even do a black if you choose, or a dark purple. It's totally up to you. And I'm feeling like I don't want to do the earrings that I originally had drawn, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create Cempasúchil earrings. Like I told you, this is more inspired for the Day of the Dead. I really like. Tell me that is not just stunning. I really like how this Frida turned out. I'm really happy you chose to do the art kit with me. We are planning seasonal art kits, and I would love for you to join me in more classes. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those young social media platforms. My friends, my name is Marla Love. I love to paint. I love even more to paint with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed your Frida. Send me your version of Frida. I want to see it. Post it on our webpage. Send it to us via our website, arteprimero.com, and I will add them to our website, to our gallery. Muchas gracias, amores. Thank you.